From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry, and today we are in the 22 News Plus studios talking about something that is overtaking all of our lives, whether you know it or not. I'm here with Torrey. She is a professor of where's your super there? It is a professor of learning technology at the University of Massachusetts. Thank you, Torrey, for being here. I greatly appreciate your time. What do you do on the campus of UMass when it comes to AI?
Well, my job in the College of Education is I teach future teachers and future educators how to
Okay.
use technology. And with generative AI coming out, I've had to bring that into my practice very rapidly. And so often I'm exploring it with my students. And so I'm helping future educators think through what is the role of generative AI technology in their future practice, in their personal lives, and their professional lives. And I also teach a first-year seminar called AI for College Success, helping first-year students across the entire university think through what are all the issues and ways to use generative AI for learning.
Okay, so let's start off with my most simple question. I have a broad concept of what AI is, but you've used the term generative AI. What does that mean?
Well, generative AI is artificial intelligence that can generate or create something new. Whereas in the past, like traditional AI, something like, Siri or Alexa, those could follow, like analyze data, recognize it, make recommendations based on the data they have about you. But generative AI can make whole new information, generate images, generate text, a lot of different things.
So in the previous forms, if I'm thinking about this correctly, the Siri and those sorts of things, you would ask it a question or type something in, and it would search the internet to provide you information. What's the weather? It'll give you, the weather. What's, whatever it is. Generative AI, you ask it more specific questions, and then it surfs the World Wide Web for information and creates an answer.
Oh, let's take a streaming service, for example, like
Okay.
Netflix. You know how you go to watch a movie and then all of a sudden there's a recommendation for something
Yeah.
similar you might like. So that's based on a ton of data collected about you from Netflix and other companies to try to figure out what exactly you would want to watch. And so that's traditional AI. It's using a big data set to recommend something to you. It's kind of a single task.
Tracking what you've done previously and suggesting future things.
Yeah, so kind of like pattern recognition, whereas generative AI could make a whole new Netflix movie in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
It could write the script. It could come up with the scenes, the shots, all of that.
It's interesting because recently in the news in Hollywood, a generative, and correct me if I'm wrong, a generative AI actress was created, and now that's the big pushback.
Yeah, I'm not saying Netflix should ask generative AI to make one of its new movies, but there's the capability. It could help with script writing. It could help with storyboarding. And yeah, now there's an AI actor, and I know that's causing a lot of outcry because it's looking pretty real, and that's pretty scary.
So I want to pull up a little bit of data or a visual here. This first one is ChatGPT, which I think most people have heard of ChatGPT and Gemini. So this ChatGPT prompt is walking us through what?
So there's some new changes in ChatGPT. When it first came out, you wrote a text-based prompt. It came out with a text-based response, but it has changed and evolved with new programming, new data. So it can now generate a brand new infographic in a matter of seconds. It can search the web. Originally, it was not connected to the web to make responses. And it can code, it can write in real time, and it can even do deep research, which a lot of companies have promised is like having a PhD in your pocket. But I don't quite agree with that statement.
Why not?
So I had to do deep research on what I did for my dissertation, which is how teachers learn through social media, professional learning networks. And it looked at about, 30 or 40 different sources. It wrote a 20-page paper, and it, from like surface level, was actually not too bad. But when I started diving in word by word, I was thinking, this is not fully accurate. Like if a student submitted that to me, I would say you didn't actually understand the literature. You pieced some things together, but you didn't truly understand what the literature is saying. And so deep research is kind of meant to be a literature review or market analysis or something you can hand off to AI to do to save you hours of time. I just don't think it's fully there yet to be something really trustworthy.
So it does the work, but the work isn't 100% accurate.
Correct. Yes.
In simple terms.
Yeah.
So be careful, but user beware.
Yeah. And it could be a place like you go, like I could have it do deep research on something I'm interested in exploring, like generative AI in a first year seminar, and it'll go through like 30, 40, 50 resources. Then I would go through those resources on my own to verify that the information is accurate and build my own literature review. I think that's the best approach to using it.
So it does it quickly, but you still have to go back and proofread, basically.
Yes, definitely, fact check to evaluate the quality and the summaries because these tools can definitely get stuff wrong.
Wow. All right. The next one I'm going to pull up is it looks like this is it's coding. It's like Canvas Interactive, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, so this is one of Gemini's new features. So they have a tool called Canvas, which ChatGPT also has Canvas, and both of those platforms can write or code in real time, and you can actually make edits in real time. But what I really like about the new Gemini Canvas feature is you can code a game or, code or write a brand new interactive learning experience. So in this example, like helping others understand their odds of winning the lottery, you can ask Gemini to code a game for that and, with friends and family, play the game and think more about, those odds. So it becomes an educational tool. And if you're an educator who wants to create something like that for their students but don't have the coding knowledge to create a game, AI can do that now.
So can I use AI to win Powerball?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I'm on that tonight.
So I ran the tool that, the lottery tool that it made, and it just started running through. I got to pick 6 numbers and it started running through like when my chances of like actually winning the Powerball, and it just kept running and running, and I thought I broke my computer. So I think it really showed to me like my chances are very, very low. There's still a chance.
Just like going to your local convenience store and buying a ticket.
Yeah, just the same thing. But I don't think, generative AI technologies are predictability machines. So they guess. So yeah, they could guess 6 numbers for you.
So can I.
You could also guess 6 numbers. Yeah.
All right, we're up on our first commercial break. Torrey Truss, a PhD from UMass, is here with me today in the 22 News Plus studios. We're talking about artificial intelligence. We'll be right back.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of In Focus. We're talking about artificial intelligence. Sitting across the desk from me is Torrey Truss. She is a professor of learning technology at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. Torrey, thank you so much for joining me. We've only talked about ChatGPT and Gemini that little tiny much, but the world of AI is everywhere. There are countless ways to use it. ChatGPT and Gemini, I think, are probably the 2 most popular, but there are tons and tons of different ways to use it. Am I correct?
Yeah, and there's tons of generative AI technologies. There was a database I looked at several months ago that was tracking over 5,000 generative AI tools or tools with generative AI built in. Even things like Canva, the very popular graphic design tool, has a whole magic AI suite that can use AI to generate a presentation for you in a matter of seconds, or even a quiz or self-assessment, websites, social media posts, all through AI.
All right, so I'm going to pull up this video here. This is about studying and learning.
Yeah, so, more recently, ChatGPT came out with a study and learn mode, and Gemini then followed that with guided learning mode. Claude has learn mode. And so all of these tools, companies realize one of their biggest user bases is students.
Right.
So they're trying to figure out how do they make these tools more helpful or more appealing to students. And so they've come out with this mode that AI is meant to serve as a tutor that walks you through how to solve problems or think through concepts or understand complex ideas in a way where it's built on like questions and support rather than just giving you the answer right away.
So, but to your point earlier in this conversation, this is all well and good, but you got to go back and proof it.
Yeah, a lot of students are using these tools for looking up information, better understanding information, especially when they're struggling in class with understanding a concept. But I don't think I would ever really fully trust what these tools have to say. I would go, verify with other sources on the internet or other individuals, experts, to make sure that what you're learning from these tools is actually accurate.
We're looking at a sample there a moment ago about mathematical formulas and so forth. And if I recall correctly, in that sample you sent me, the math wasn't adding up, was it?
Yeah, well, that was my fault as the user in getting the math wrong and seeing what ChatGPT
Oh, so you
would
intentionally
do. I
did it.
intentionally
Okay.
got it wrong to see if it would just give up and give me the answer right away, and it sort of did after 2 tries, and then kind of just quickly moved on. And I really don't trust these tools for math and science in particular because they're not calculators. Like, even if you go to Google and put in a multiplication question, it will turn into a calculator and use a calculator to respond. These tools are still guessing machines and guessing how to put words together or numbers together to make the most human sounding response. And so that's really important to understand when it comes to math learning is it's not an expert by any means.
Right.
It's just guessing what an expert might say.
You've used the word guessing so many times, but that sounds accurate. I mean, it is accurate. It doesn't sound accurate. It is. It's just guessing based on the data that's out there in the web world. It's guessing based on all that information what the answer to your question is, and it's not always right.
Yes. And
That's
it's not
frightening.
like it's like completely wrong. Like, in the deep research that was 20 pages, there might be a couple sentences that are way off that are either made up or just completely wrong. But
But it
there's a
could
lot
change the entire dynamic of what you're submitting or what you're talking about if there's 1 or 2 sentences wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Generally, I mean, when students submit work to me that looks AI generated, it's pretty obvious. Usually it's like a personal reflection, and the student very clearly just didn't do it. And you know that generative AI is, the response is too broad. It'll sometimes make stuff up that we didn't cover in class. So, yeah, you can use these tools for learning, but you can also very much shortcut your learning if you're not doing the going back and double checking, reading, fixing, remixing the words.
I want to pull up an image now or a scene collection now about it's. I believe this is the one where it's creating a storybook. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so Gemini came out with a new feature where you can basically create a storybook with just a, human natural language prompt, like write a storybook about, this individual exploring the water cycle, which is what this storybook is. And so if you're having trouble teaching your kids about the water cycle, if your high schooler is struggling with a concept that they're exploring in class, you can ask Gemini to turn it into a storybook. And storytelling is actually one of the most powerful ways to learn and make something memorable. So there's benefits to that. But interestingly, when I had Gemini create a storybook last week on dividing fractions, one of the characters had 3 arms because it needed to hold all 3 fractions. So, you still want to be really careful with these tools.
So what we just saw was it created a flip book.
Yeah.
It created the not caricatures, but the images, the what look like hand-drawn images. AI created all of that.
All of that in a matter of maybe a minute for that whole book. Programs the whole thing.
So I have to be guilty. I was reading an article several months ago about the music industry and what did an artist really write. So I went on to, I forget whether it was ChatGPT or Gemini, I don't recall, and I said, write me the song lyrics based on, and I forget what my prompts were. I think it was, I used the old country, I lost my truck, my dog ran away, my wife left me, and I'm, and I'm sitting in a bar, and it pumped out. I mean, that's all I put in, and it pumped out entire song lyrics.
Oh, yeah. These tools can also pump out entire songs. I mean, tools like Suno and Udio, you can create full.
It'll add the musical side
and
of it.
the singing to
Really?
it. And so, but you worry about like how these tools were trained, very likely on copyrighted music stolen or that's still up for debate right now in the courts, taken from artists without compensation or permission from.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that was the whole New York Times lawsuit, right? And that was initially against, I think it was the ChatGPT?
OpenAI.
Yeah, so OpenAI. they were gathering copyrighted information from the New York Times. You got to be very careful with that.
Yes, so using their training. And there was a big, court case over summer for Anthropic, which created Claude. And the finding was, yes, you actually can train your tools on copyrighted data under the fair use guidelines in U.S. copyright law. But the collection of copyrighted data, so basically they pirated a whole bunch of copyrighted books to train their materials, that they found to be illegal and they would have to pay damages for. So that it's still really tricky with copyright.
I was just reading an article the other night. A travel blogger wrote about, and I forget which country it was, Peru, somewhere down in South America, where this couple typed into AI, they wanted to go on this hiking route. And they could have gotten killed based on misinformation that AI put out.
Yes, you don't. And my dad was also recently using AI to plan a trip of his, and he said it was to Tahiti, and he was like, "Hey, one of these islands doesn't actually exist." So
I didn't have that problem,
but he did find it to be helpful in some instances. Like it found some hotels he wasn't able to find in his initial search. So I do think there are ways that AI might be able to save you time of like doing a ton of research to narrow things down. But then that's when you want to go, verify the accuracy and credibility of everything that these tools say.
Torrey, this is amazing. We still have more to go. We're up on our second commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of InFocus. I'm your host, Patrick Berry. Across the desk from me is Torrey Truss. We're talking artificial intelligence, and your brain is probably spinning as much as mine is because it is so overwhelming to know how AI is kind of permeates our life right now and everything that we do virtually. But I got to tell you, Torrey, I think I'm pretty adept at picking up on AI-generated images and videos. They just don't look right.
In general, yes, but I think they're getting better and better and
Oh,
harder
absolutely.
to recognize. I actually had my students design a quiz where they have a whole bunch of realistic images and then they have to create AI-generated ones that are similar enough to the realistic, and you have to guess. And they have their friends and family complete their quizzes, and they say, "Oh, my parents didn't realize that all of this could be AI-generated, or my friends or roommates." So I think we're still just now discovering how realistic these images can be.
Well, because you can go into, and I think my kids have told me TikTok has a way where you can go in and you can take a picture that's on your phone, upload it to TikTok, and it will create like a dancing video. Like I could take a picture of you, upload it, and all of a sudden say, have Torrey dance a salsa, and it just create you as a standing image.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I just saw a blog with the new Sora 2 that came out. So that's OpenAI's video generator tool. So they came out with Sora. They just came out with Sora 2. And this person who was blogging basically uploaded, I think, from their like shoulders up, said like 3 sentences total. And then it took all of that data and had a video of him walking on the Great Wall of China with Sam Altman together, having a conversation, climbing the Eiffel Tower, being in a jet plane. And it looked like you knew it wasn't real, but it looked pretty real. And so it makes you think a lot about students today and what that means for their social media and their social spaces if you can put yourself into any situation with AI.
Well, it's interesting because there's a new, I wouldn't even call it a fad, a new concern out there that's AI companions, where kids are, I don't even know how, I would call it hanging out with these computer-generated people. And they ask these computer-generated friends information like, "Oh, hey, my mom is bullying or telling me to do my laundry all the time. What should I do?" And it's giving you this information that's frightening.
It is really frightening. And there's a couple ways this happens. So there are tools like Character AI and, even maybe within Snapchat or Meta, where there are kind of characters that you're talking to. And in other cases, people are just using like ChatGPT and Gemini, and it seems so human-like. They believe they're talking to a human.
Right.
And what's even scarier is students, in some cases, like the most recent really awful case where a student lost their life, they had been using ChatGPT for, help with homework, help with studying, and then started having longer conversations with ChatGPT and really started believing what ChatGPT was saying. And ChatGPT did not have any guardrails in place to prevent that student from self-harm. And
Wow.
so you got to be really careful because these tools are what, my field calls sycophants. They
Right.
basically are designed to please you. And so I don't know if you've ever tried ChatGPT, but like every first response you get is great idea, or that's an awesome suggestion,
I
or
never picked up
let
on
me
that.
think it.
Yeah.
Look at the very first couple of words and every time it responds to you. It's generally very positive, very uplifting. And so, some people started saying this is too much, and the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, kind of toned it down. And then people went the opposite direction and said, oh, no, we really need this. Like, I don't have anyone positive in my life who is a yes person.
That's frightening.
Right. Yeah, that's also really worrisome. And so now they're turning to AI to fill that need for them. And as you mentioned, it's not a character. It's not human. It's literally a predictability machine figuring out which words go together to manipulate you into thinking it's human. So
This last video that I'm going to pull up, this is ChatGPT Canvas. Explain it.
So ChatGPT Canvas, similar to Gemini's Canvas, is something where you can write in real time. You can basically, in this example, I prompted it to write a couple paragraphs, which it did within a matter of seconds. And then you can change the formatting, you can change the length, you can change the tone, the reading level. You can even add emojis with a click of a button. And it really goes to show when you're thinking about the ethics of these tools, like students now have access to tools that with either a few words or even a click of a button can do full assignments for them. And so it brings up a lot of issues around academic integrity and ethics of these tools in schools.
But I think, I've talked to, some superintendents and some teachers. I think they're fully aware of this, obviously. Is it smart for school systems to embrace AI from the aspect of like our conversation here? Yeah, it's great. It's useful, but here are the warning signs, and are there ways for school districts, teachers, in the individual classrooms, can they double check to see if something is AI generated or if it's, originally generated from the student? To your point earlier, some of this stuff just doesn't look like you put much thought into it.
Right. Two big questions around what can schools do. Gemini, or what Google over summer decided to put Gemini into all Google Workspace for Education accounts, students and teachers, really without telling a lot of schools. They just kind of made it open. And some schools ended up just turning that feature off. And then I started to ask, well, what about the students who don't have access to these tools at home or the upgraded versions at home? But if they can come to school and use Gemini Workspace, within their Google Docs and their education suite, it's more private, it's more secure for what they type, the data that they include. It does have a double check feature I found out today. So there's more safeguards put in place.
But it's getting better and better as with each passing hour, quite frankly.
Actually, no. A recent study found that hallucinations of these tools for OpenAI models is getting worse with the newer models, right? So
I take that back, folks.
It's challenging to figure out. So, I do think schools should play a role in helping students just figure out these tools, when to use them, when not to use them, because they're going to play a huge role in their future, in college, in career, in their personal lives, companionships, and beyond. And if we don't have those conversations with students in schools, they may not get those conversations at home. So there's that aspect. And then I really quickly want to address, you mentioned, how do we identify AI generated work? There's some tools out there like AI text detectors. They don't work with 100% accuracy. And this is creating a whole new problem with academic integrity. They're around, I think some of the better models around 94, 95% accurate, but that means in a large class, 100 students, you're picking 6 students and falsely accusing them of using AI to do their work. And so it's created a lot of anxiety for students and fear around these tools. And with all of these false positives, I don't use any of those tools. I basically, if something looks AI generated to me, I say, you've got to have a conversation with me in office hours and prove to me you know the information and you did the work. And sometimes that's enough to convince students not to use these tools, is having to come talk to the professor.
Torrey Trust, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I would love to invite you back on this show because I've only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to AI because I'm so fascinated by it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.